Take a look at this heat signature. It appears like an innocent car, right? Except it's actually an armored infantry fighting vehicle using BAE Systems' adaptive thermal camouflage to mimic the IR signature of a car. Imagine if your command center, or even a regular soldier, could hide from heat signatures like this. It would give you a huge advantage on the modern battlefield. Over a decade ago, I deployed to Iraq with thermal optics like this, and it was still so expensive and difficult to produce that my platoon of 40 soldiers had to share just 2 devices between all of us. Infantrymen are known for sharing drink, ladies, diseases, but not thermal optics, that'd be gross. However, in the past 2 decades since then, there's been an explosion in the availability of thermal vision technology. It's even easier to acquire than night vision goggles in many cases. Today, the highest casualty producing weapon on the battlefield is artillery strikes coordinated by cheap quadcopters and drones using thermal imagers. This new reality created an arms race to develop counter-surveillance technology or materials to conceal your body's heat signature. So what happened to thermal camouflage since then? I'm your average infantryman, Cappy. Let's find out. But first, I have an exciting opportunity for you guys through our veteran-owned small business partner, GetEnterToWin.com. We've teamed up again to bring you the chance to win this Armasight Contractor thermal sight. It has a detection range of 1,865 meters, a 6.4 optical magnification with up to 4x digital zoom. Just click the link in the description or head over to GetEnterToWin.com/taskandpurpose. Buy one of our custom limited edition collectibles, and you'll be automatically entered to win this sweet mil-spec compliant thermal sight. And besides getting that sick custom collectible and the chance to win, you'll also be helping to support the growth of this channel by increasing our ability to continue reinvesting and creating awesome content for you. So click the link in the description, head over to GetEnterToWin.com/taskandpurpose. Grab a limited edition collectible and get automatically entered to win. Remember, you must be a US resident in order to win, and the deadline to enter is October 8th at 11:59 p.m. Thank you for your support. Good luck. Take a look at this paper I found written by Infantry Major Michael Weimer in 1987 that basically predicts the future here. Most armies possess passive night vision capabilities and, like the US, are rapidly advancing towards thermal imagery, making portraying the false much more difficult. Today, a deceiver must not only replicate the size and shape of tactical equipment, but also thermal and active and passive radar signatures. This was back when IR technology was still in its infancy, yet he foresaw the need for an effective counter-surveillance system against the rise of thermals. Enter Black Fox, active adaptive multispectral stealth camouflage. It's been in development since 2006 and claimed to hide entire vehicles from thermal vision while moving at fast speeds. You can see in this test footage, at first we're looking at the side of the car that doesn't have any Black Fox thermal camo on it. Then the vehicle turns and reveals the side with the camouflage that completely hides its IR signature. The way it works is it uses a camera on top of the vehicle to detect the temperature of the ambient background, then it mimics it by cooling exterior plates to the same temperature. The flashy promotional video went viral in 2010, and recent reports indicated that they've reached what's called Technology Readiness Level 5. Which means it's gone through some environmental testing already, but it needs to be level 9 before it's ready for combat tests. The reason for this is because allegedly the company ran out of funding and it's seeking $5 million worth of investment to continue. But that wasn't the end of thermal camouflage, because only a year later in 2011, BAE Systems announced they were working on something similar called the adaptive infrared stealth technology. And BAE isn't about to run out of money last time I checked, they're daddy big bucks. And BAE described their prototype as basically a thermal TV screen. These screens are made in 5.5-inch wide hexagonal Peltier plates. It takes 1,000 of these thermoelectric plates to cover an entire main battle tank or infantry fighting vehicle. The way it works is each panel can be quickly heated or cooled with electricity individually.
This is a system that can provide you with extraordinary stealth capability. This is the first system ever provided this technology.
The way thermal imaging devices work is by creating images that are based on differences in surface temperature by detecting infrared radiation. This means seeing the heat that radiates from your body or a vehicle's engine compared to the contrast of the relatively cooler surrounding environment. For context, the M1 Abrams main battle tank and its engine can run at maximum temperatures of 2,189 degrees Fahrenheit or 1,190 degrees Celsius. That heat signature glows as bright as the sun, and it's easy for a Russian Kornet anti-tank system, drone, or T-90 to pick up with its thermals from over 2 kilometers away. The US military got a wake-up call about this vulnerability for the first time during the 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Loitering drones with IR imagers coordinated accurate artillery and ground fire to destroy up to 100 Armenian tanks, an additional 100 artillery pieces, up to 150 armored vehicles, 60 air defense systems, and 11 command and control headquarters. If smaller nations like Azerbaijan can use thermals in combined arms warfare, imagine what China could accomplish. The solution? Instead of trying fruitlessly to get rid of your tank's heat signature, you disguise and change it. ADAPTIV can choose from a pre-programmed library of different shapes, so you can pretend to be a Ford truck instead of a Leopard tank. Or if you're in Eastern Europe, you can pretend to be a Toyota Camry. The illusion only works if you're around 300 meters away or more, but that's better than nothing. The vehicle essentially becomes like a chameleon in the jungle that can mimic its surroundings. There are 2 ideas of camouflage that are yoinked directly from the animal kingdom at work here. The first is called crypsis, which is when you avoid detection by hiding your heat signature entirely. That means you're imitating the natural background behind you. The second idea is called mimesis, or mimicking a non-threatening form like pretending to be a car. There are actually animals that are able to hide from the infrared spectrum as well as the visible, most notably the eye-hawked moth and tree frogs. It's like I always say, if an animal can do it, my tank should be able to do it too. Honestly though, this is a promising feature to think about it, because it lets you signal peaceful intent. Could use this to create secret patterns that can only be recognized by your friendly forces. So instead of yelling flash and thunder as a challenge password during D-Day, you'd be putting up the cool S symbol on the side of your Victor to recognize friendlies. In the past, this tech was prohibited because it needed high power consumption that would steal energy needed to run other vital systems like the turret fire control system. But that's no longer the case. BAE claims that thermal camo technology would be ready to produce in 2 years, but they've been saying that for many years, since 2011. Eventually, they want this tech on naval ships, aircraft carriers, and even aerodynamic lightweight versions on helicopters. However, there is some evidence and it's not ready yet. This science paper claims electrochromic materials used on these panels aren't mature yet. This technology basically picked a fight with the second law of thermodynamics, which is never an easy opponent. I can barely win a challenge against long division. The problem is you can't get rid of heat. You can only divert it and move it around. That process eventually produces more extra heat. This is why you have that expression, don't leave your fridge door open to try and cool your house. But wait, we saw video evidence that this thing works, right? Yes, but it was only a short clip. The cloak might only work for a few minutes while they're storing heat. It's not just tanks that the US military wants to hide though. More importantly, they want to keep your high-up generals safe. So if you're an 04 or above, you can breathe a sigh of relief. In 2018, the US Department of Defense solicited for a device that would mimic the heat signature of a massive 1,000 square foot wide mission command headquarters, when they realized just how vulnerable officers would be on the future wars. A theory that turned out to be true in the conflict in Ukraine based on the fact that 15 Russian generals and 1 admiral has been KIA during Russia's invasion. Which is why it's important not only to hide vehicles, tanks, but also your average infantryman on the ground. Because those metal panels are all well and good for when you're in the back of an infantry fighting vehicle or a tank, but what about when you're dismounted or on patrol? To this end, the US military has tried all kinds of different special dyes, fabrics, and materials inside of uniforms to hide an individual soldier's heat signature. And they have some pros and cons to them. The thing is, fortunately for America, someone else has already been pioneering hiding from thermal optics. Someone else has already had incentive to trailblaze here. Talking about the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Listen to this US soldier in Afghanistan explain it.
They've been using space blankets. Cover themselves up, peek out, then cover themselves up again as they move around.
So you can't see the heat signature?
No, we can't see the heat signature when they have the space blankets over.
Insurgents were forced to improvise because thermal optics were one of the most effective weapons against them. There are basically 3 main materials that are effective at hiding you from thermal weapons. The first is glass, which is the most effective method to block your heat signature, but no one wants to carry around a hunk of glass on patrol, which makes that option impractical. but it's still a good thing to keep in mind if you're inside of a building and to understand the principles at work with thermal vision. The second material that you need to know about is what's called a space blanket. Let's test out some of these thermal imaging blankets with our thermal optic to see if we can actually hide ourselves. So, cheap, lightweight, got this at Walmart. Don't want to litter. It's a little noisy. Okay, this one, you can see that it works for a limited period of time. If you have it on top of you and your skin's touching it for too long, you start to pop hot. This is similar to what insurgents in Afghanistan used. I procured this one for a solid $4. Mylar foil is a commonly used material here. However, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, insurgents in general, quickly realized that this comes at a high mobility penalty, forcing you to move very slowly or not at all to avoid detection. The Israeli-made Kit 300 is said to be made out of thermal visual concealment material. What that means is it combines microfibers, metals, and polymers to make soldiers harder to see with a range of thermal cameras. The third option is camouflage netting materials that can help because the holes through the webbing help disperse a heat signature. And this is where the US Army has been willing to drop $480 million over the next 10 years. Take a look at Fibrotech's ultralight camouflage netting system. Starting in 2016, US Army's NATAC Soldier Systems Center in Massachusetts started looking for a thermal camo solution and chose Fibrotech's in 2018. The camouflage netting system is said to reduce your thermal signature. However, there is a potential drawback because this type of camouflage hinders electromagnetic radiation. So while they stop you from being seen by radar and possibly thermal imagers, they're also a double-edged sword preventing any radio communications you try to send out. Your transmissions and communications will be garbled. To be fair though, we've all sent out our share of late-night texts that we wish had been stopped. GPS is also degraded by this tech, so it's like trying to get a cell signal when you're driving through a tunnel. This can be overcome by using a tech created by Saab that has a frequency-selective surface. This is designed to allow specific frequencies of communications from your radio to pass through while blocking the enemy's detection frequencies. Fibrex in particular is catering towards special forces and snipers because it's easier to hide a small group and team rather than hiding a battalion of regular soldiers. The US military snipers are now using a $1,300 improved ghillie suit called the IGS for 3,300 snipers. The company said, quote, "The US Army tested our best camouflage solutions and it repeatedly demonstrated the ability to defeat all sensors known to be operating in the battlefield and throughout the electromagnetic spectrum." It's tough to test these claims out because it appears like Fibrex stopped selling to civilians when they won that military contract in 2018. If all else fails, you just cover yourself in the cold river mud like Arnold did. Lieutenant Colonel Tim O'Neill, who's one of the world's leading camouflage experts, said the problem with these kinds of blankets and personal thermal camo is that, quote, "You're running up against the law of physics. The heat must escape somehow, or you're gonna reduce the soldier to a hot puddle." But I'll tell you what's not hidden, that like button. Snipe it if you've enjoyed the video so far. It must work to some degree though, because we've seen this camouflage technique used by Russian and Ukrainian soldiers. Ukraine started receiving thousands of handheld thermal optics, Fleer drones, and Javelin missiles that use thermal imaging to lock onto targets. This happened prior to the invasion in 2022. They've used thermal imagers in creative ways since then, by using it to locate landmines that were heated up in the hot sun during the day. The mines retain their heat, even though the Earth is cooler at night. There's an argument to be made that thermal imaging devices played a major role in stopping Russia's advance on Kyiv. Ukrainian T-64 tanks positioned at Cherniv had improved thermal imagers compared to the Soviet tanks. Bayraktar TB2 drones with thermal imagers were used to harass exposed Russian supply lines and coordinate precision artillery strikes. A Ukrainian military reserve officer, Tataragami, observed evidence of Russian troops using these kind of blankets. It was found on the bodies of KIA Russians north of Donetsk. This video from Ukraine shows how effective these blankets can be against thermal optics. It's important to note, though, that after a period of time, your body heat will accumulate inside the material, which will eventually become detectable. This retreating Russian soldier successfully used the thermal blanket for a short period of time to avoid detection before he was able to be saved by his comrades. So they have some use. Space blankets take up very little space, they're lightweight and easy to take around on patrol. They're useful for limited periods of time, and so long as you're not moving around and drawing attention to yourself. Something to keep in mind when using thermal vision devices or trying to conceal from them is your environment. Europe has the distinction of being one of the cloudiest regions in the world, which means getting clear satellite images can be difficult most of the year. This makes low-flying drones equipped with thermal imagers a good alternative, but they're also limited by poor weather conditions themselves. Poor weather can have an advantage if you're on the offensive because you know your enemy's sensors are not as effective. The lower temperatures in Europe mean FLIR works better compared to the scorching hot temperatures of 127 degrees in the Middle East. You also have to consider, are you in a jungle environment like Vietnam, where the vegetation is going to limit and obstruct your thermal vision? But what about the future of thermal optics? This is the family of weapon sight individual. The US Army just signed 2 contracts worth $1 billion so that every single combat armed soldier will have a thermal optic on their rifle by 2027. Mixed augmented reality optics like HoloSun's new sight are combining thermal vision with daylight vision to give you the best of all spectrums of visible and non-visible light that the human eye can see. New thermal imagers are so sensitive that snipers can see the trajectory of bullets that they fire, so they can adjust fire based on the heat signature of prior rounds. DARPA has developed smaller thermal devices that can fit in the palm of your hands that'll have huge applications on drones and weapon sights in the future. Thermal vision is a new reality that soldiers need to live with and consider when planning for future counter-surveillance missions. Hopefully this video gave you a 101 basic introduction to how thermal vision and thermal camouflage works. What's clear is that if the US military is really planning to own the night in the future, they'll have to invest more money into IR camouflage. I'm your average infantryman, Cappy. Follow me at Cappy Army on Instagram. Check out one of these 2 videos while you're here, and I'll see you guys again in a couple of days.